Hello, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Aviation Cadet. This is ex-Aviation Cadet Sabir Shah from 1990 GDP. I have been enrolled in Pakistan Air Force in 1993 December till 1996 April, and I've flown three aircrafts: Mashak, MFI-17, Tweety Bird T-37, and Karakram 8, JL-8 or K-8. I have over 150 hours on these three airplanes. And basically, I have flown general flying, circuit flying, navigation, formation, instrument flying, and then some basic fighting maneuvers. So, the basic flying, I know a bit of the basic flyings. I have no experience in commercial flying at all, apart from being a passenger, which I haven't logged my hours. So if I do that, that's going to cross my actual flying hours. So anyhow, I came up with a new look with head shave, and it's really hot in here. Well, today my topic is about the flight PK8303, which crashed on 22nd of May 2020, the COVID time. And it's almost 3 years. We just passed the 30-year anniversary, and yet no final report has come out. Still awaiting for the final report. The reason being, again, in civilized countries, people learn from their mistakes, but in my country, people try to cover up the mistakes and try to put blame on someone, so that they should not be caught for their wrongdoings. So it's a bit of culture in Pakistan. Now, I would try to be short and brief on this very sad incident. 99 people lost their lives, including the crew. And there were two survivors, luckily. And on the ground, around 11 people were injured, and only one died because of the injuries. Otherwise, this would have been a really big, biggest crashes in the aviation history if the population was in their houses at that time. It was the prayer time, so most of the men were out, and the kids were at school, and women were just wandering around, I could say that. So there were not many casualties on the ground. Otherwise, this whole full-fledged Airbus A320 fell on a densely populated area. Karachi is Pakistan's most densely populated area, and yet there was only one casualty. So we are really thankful to Almighty for that. So let me start from, I don't know where to start, because I'm not going to go with some flashy pictures and stuff like that. I'm just going to give my point of view out. This final report, a lot of people are waiting for it, and I think they shouldn't be having a lot of hopes on that one, because recently what has uncovered in Pakistan, I don't think so that any truth would come out. So I'm ready to accept that. I've lowered my expectation levels to ground zero. Now, the reason being, Pakistan is a very close cultural kind of society, and everyone knows each other in a way. You know, I'll give you an example. Recently, the riots happened in Pakistan, and the Corps Commander House was burned down to ashes, and the woman who was who was leading these riots, she was the ex chief of army staff's granddaughter. Imagine that. And the opposition party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, they're accused of starting these riots, and she was the main leader. Now, what I want to tell you is that she disappeared. She hid herself. She was on the large, and you know who went to and tried to rescue her? It was the Prime Minister of Pakistan, against who all these riots were meant, by the way. Number two, it was the other allies of the government, Mr. Shujahat Hussain, And these riots were meant against him as well, in indirectly, because what opposition does, the rallies are against the government, right? So Mr. Najam Sethi, the Pakistan Cricket Board chairman at the moment, and he's a big critic of the political party's head, Mr. Imran Khan. Now imagine people in the government are trying to save a girl who actually led all these riots against them and burned the military installations. So, what can you expect here? I mean, must be mind blowing for the people who are not from Pakistan. But in Pakistan, it's a very common thing. People have links, they know each other. So, that's how they try to, at the time of difficulties, they come and try to help each other, and then tit for tat. This is how you give a favor and how you take a favor, no matter what your political association is. Second thing, Absar Alam is a very famous writer in Pakistan, and he uncovered a story that how in the media houses, how people have been planted from by the no, establishment is a mixture of the judiciary, the military, and the bureaucracy. So this whole thing is people behind the curtains. They actually rule the country. How they control the media. He discovered. He actually broke the news that uh, even in media, all the people are selected, and they're given this certain material to say it out in public. So see, even the media is not free. Then, if you keep continuing, there are going to be many examples. So why I'm relating this to PK8303? Again, the public perception. And the report, the initial report we have seen is like PDF 20 pages, a piece of crap, I would say. I mean, just nothing in that report which could be relied upon, which could be trusted upon. So let me start from the beginning now. So I was in my, I think I didn't go to work that day, and I was at home, and my classes didn't start at that time. So when the first piece of news, again breaking news, it came out, and one flight PK8303 crashed near the Karachi airport on the population, and that every time any aviational hazard, no matter even if it's in India, a rebel country, I feel sad because losing a brother pilot is, for me, and the passengers, of course, their lives are also important, but as I've been in that profession, so my sympathy is more towards the crew. So what happened? So when I heard this, okay, crashed. So went online, checked. So then a lot of local medias, they started, and then they started giving out the call. Right away, I'm telling you, within half an hour, when the news were updated, the pilot's mistake. He was too high on the approach, and he crashed before the runway. So now I told you where the media's output is coming from. It's from the same power corridors which actually run the country. And because people involved in this accident, those who are alive, are relatives or family members or close friends. So they have to save someone's ass. Now I'll tell you, I'll come to that one why. What happened. So okay, so it's very common if you're high on approach, you just try to go around, go in an orbit, but this aircraft seems to me that it didn't do that. Now, what are the reasons? Till to the day we don't know, because when the report is going to be out, which I told you, don't put many hopes on that one. It's going to be a bunch of lies, and but I mean they have to cover the story. So the first piece of news, okay, and then I started checking on many websites and YouTube channels and stuff. Wherever I got any single piece of information, any footages, any pictures, everything, I just kept that as a record on my computer. And what I found out that there was a picture of the aircraft within the first day, and which shows that the engines were scraped and the the emergency electrical system that was also switched on because of that nozzle coming down from the aircraft. So my question was, who took the picture? And if someone was that vigilant, because the aircraft when it went round, till then we didn't know. Even till the day we don't know that what path did it chose, because they said that FDR data is not available for where the aircraft went after the touchdown and go round. So they don't know. They will tell us in the final report, hopefully. Now, no matter what kind of camera do you have, and people who love cameras, the outer downwind is at least 1,000 feet away from the runway, from the touchdown, and the air traffic controller is further away, and the tower is even much further away from the airport. If you look at the structure of the airport, so this picture was taken from the runway, because that close up and that high density quality, you can only do it if you were 500 to 600 feet away from the aircraft. Gears are still not down. So who took that picture? And why wasn't that picture not shown on the mainstream media? That's my first question. Second thing is, the calls which were leaked, it was only, the ATC asked him to go around. Now we don't know at what part of the flight, on what phase of the flight, because I've covered that in previous videos. There were at least 3 phases involved of this aircraft. One, descending down, the first descent. Second, go to the descending point and start descending down. Third, trying to catch the flight path, the glide path. And 4, touchdown, go round. And 5 is coming for another approach. Now that's my theory, that it did come for the second approach, but it was still high, so it went round again, and then made the third attempt and crashed on the third attempt. That's what my theory is. And in my previous videos, I have tried to put with the timeline. So what I'm saying is that this aircraft, when it came down, the only call leaked in the beginning was with the ATC, where ATC is telling him to go around because you are too high. Now, which could be any phase, the first one, the second one, the third one, the first try to land and the second try to land, or the third try to land. We don't know, but they just showed us, made people hear that one. So pretty much they were brainstorming, the commoners, that it's the pilot's mistake. Of course, at the end of the day, it's always the pilot's miscalculation. Whatever situation he's going through, if the plane crashed, he couldn't calculate well. That's what I could say. It was a miscalculation, not the pilot error. So that was a call. Now let's go to the second thing. And right after that, I think a couple of days later, in the parliament, our aviation minister, who had no idea what aviation is, by the way, he's not qualified at all. He was caught for fake degrees. He doesn't even have a qualified degree of any sort. He's matric, like high school graduate, which I doubt as well. But he was the aviation minister and in the parliament. And he thought maybe that the whole world has closed the eyes and closed the ears, and they are not listening to what he's going to say. And he said that most of the pilots in Pakistan Air Force have fake licenses. Now, imagine that. An aviation minister of a country comes up with that statement, which apparently it has been 3 years, and it has been found there were only 19 pilots who just didn't appear in the exams by themselves. Out out of 850 pilots, 850 licenses issued by Civil Aviation Authority. Only 19 pilots didn't appear in the exam. They let someone else take the exam because they had a flight that day. Only 19. So all of them are qualified professional pilots. Now that cost us the whole European leg. We were banned to fly into Europe, into UK, into US, into Canada. And they sold these routes to the private companies like the Virgin Atlantic. They used the PIA's call signs and they earned the profit and they earned the dollars from Pakistan and took them out, and then Pakistan went down in terms of the trade balance as well, because the money, the airliners, they were taking the money out, of course, because their headquarters are out of Pakistan. So that's what cost. Now imagine that. Now why? Because again, because they had to put all the blame on the pilot. So they had to come up with all the pilots. He said 250 pilots had fake licenses. Imagine that now. That cost Pakistan a lot. PIA, in the Pakistan International Airlines, a lot. The reputation. And again, they're trying to save a few people which are alive and on the ground. That was a Friday, and Friday is a Friday prayer time, which is most of the people, they offer Friday prayers, although we're supposed to offer 5 prayers a day. But people are busy and it's not practicing much. We are not practicing Muslims a lot, and I mean, for Friday prayers, it's a holiday. It's a day off, so people tend to go to the mosques and offer the prayers. So that was a reason, and it's right at that time because 1:42 is the crash time. So 1:30, 1:10 is the prayer time in most of the mosques, and stays for half an hour. 40 minutes, people still stay there and repent. So now the ADC officer is sitting in a room and he has a machine in front of him which is showing the blip. The aircraft is coming, so he's just seeing a dot on the screen. That's it. He doesn't have visuals with the the aircraft. He doesn't see that. So he's just, according to the radar, according to the screen he's facing, he could see the heights and which could go wrong. The tower is the second thing. The tower is the guy who has the access, and he looks at the airplane physically. He was not there. No one was present at the tower. Now, who that guy would be? Again, he would be a judge's son, a general's son, or a bureaucrat's son or daughter. I can bet my life on it. He was absent from duty, and he's not supposed to be absent, because in the tower, it's the ICAO's rule, it's the world's aviation's rule that there should be at least one certified, qualified person sitting in the tower, and that person was not there. An aircraft is coming without gears and landing, and yet no one could tell the aircraft, no one could inform the pilot, the captain. This is the biggest blunder. Now, why he didn't lower the aircraft gears? Again, Airbus has limitations, and if even we pull the gears down, which the data they showed, it tells that the gears were at 7,000 feet, the gears were pulled down, and at 1,500 feet, they were raised up. The knob was moved, so the FDR, the flight data recorder, has this movement recorded, which they told us. So it means that at 1,500 feet, about 3 nautical miles away from the runway, the first attempt, I'm saying, he tried to put a go-round because he knew that he can't make it. He's too overspeeding and stuff like that. But again, the engine takes some time. The spooling takes some time. Now, this is a mystery for me, that once they pulled the gears up, and the aircraft was in a landing configuration, it was coming down, and if you pull the gears up, then automatically you get your power up. Now, no one told us that if they have got their throttles open or not. and initiated the go round or not, which they would never tell us. But I'm sure, as being a pilot, it's the instinct that once you're planning to go around, the first thing you do is you get your gears up, you get your speed breakers out, punch them in, and you get your flaps up, and then you initiate the power. It's like just like you when you go to the toilet, and you don't even have to look at the button, and you can just turn on the light. See, it's just that instinct, right? So gears up, immediately flaps up and power up, and you get your put a slow nose a bit down a bit to gain more speed, and then you initiate your a little climb, or you maintain that height, which was totally possible, but this aircraft didn't do it, so we don't know why. Why it was so high in the beginning, no one knows. The gear got stuck or not, we don't know about that one. Could be any hijacking emergency, could be anything going on the aircraft, which we have no idea about, that why this aircraft was that high and still wanted to come and land. The Juma prayers, the Friday prayers time was gone, so he was not in a hurry to offer the prayers. He didn't have any stomach ache, he didn't have a diarrhea, but there's no reports of that thing, so he was not in an emergency to land because he initiated a go-round as well. So I don't think so. There was a problem with the engines or with the gears, which they're saying now that there was no problem with it. It was broken. The pieces, you cannot, even a small screw stuck anywhere could, ruin the whole thing, the FODs. So please don't give me this shit that the gear apparently looked okay, so nothing went bad. I don't buy that shit. There must be a problem. That's why the pilot initiated to land as soon as possible. His gears didn't come down. He initiated the go-round, maybe because of thrust, maybe because of the late spooling of the engine time. He just couldn't do it. And that's, by the way, one of the only cases where an Airbus has landed without gears and yet went round. It's the only case in the history of the aviation, of the Airbus even, not to talk about any other aircraft. Even if you include them, no passenger aircrafts have ever done a go-round while belly landing. So that credit should go to that pilot you blame him. Again, I said it's a miscalculation. And so he went, the ADC officer. Now, there are certain protocols on the runway. If there is an aircraft and it had touched down, it had no gears, the tower couldn't see. Now the ADC guy, he couldn't see it, but the ADC guy knew about it. Why? Because, now how did he know? I don't know. We don't know. But the calls, they leaked. So when he was on the supposedly second approach, the ADC officer, he asks the captain, "Sir, confirm belly landing?" We were not given any information between that. How would he know that he's coming for belly landing? The tower was not there. He didn't tell him. That means that there was a previous conversation happening between the ATCO and the captain or the first officer, in which he tried to tell them the problem, and that's why he was insisting on landing. So they just got, but they leaked a wrong call, confirmed belly landing. How did he know? How can he know when the tower is missing? So again, the ADCO must have been a relative of, again, some big guns, because these are the jobs in Pakistan. Normally people want to become doctors and engineers, the main jobs, and then the teachers. Yeah, no one wants to be an ATCO. I've never heard, even my whole educational background. I have like 20 years plus of education in different schools and universities and colleges. I've never heard anyone saying, no. It doesn't mean that if I haven't heard that it doesn't happen. No, in Pakistan there are no institutes that make ADCOs. No, there are no majors of this sort. So he must be from someone from, I think, Air Force retiree's grandson or nephew or something like that. And what we knew is for sure that he was a very junior guy, and even after that crash, he still continued to do the landings of the other aircrafts. Imagine that. A guy who just responsible for now why is he responsible? He knew about that it was a belly landing, even sitting in a room. The room doesn't show the aircraft. He knew about that one. He didn't call any ambulance. He didn't call any security procedure which must have been taken place on that airport once the aircraft has gone round and without gears. So these are the things which I need to put in front of the people, that don't put your hopes on this report. It's already well decided that they have to save the people. And I'm telling you, the flight engineer responsible, the ATCO responsible, and the tower responsible. Captain and the first officer are responsible for the crash because they miscalculated. They went up to enough height that they could have initiated their final turns a little earlier. They wouldn't have ended up 2 nautical miles short of the runway. It was just a few second judgmental error that they couldn't land on the runway. Just a few seconds. So they delayed their turns. So that's what their blame is. But the real culprits, ADCO, the tower guy, and the flight engineer who gave a wrong report about the aircraft, that it was fit to fly. The aircraft was never fit to fly. So in the end, my prayers for the deceased ones, for the martyred ones. I hope that they find their peace, and we will fight for the truth to come out, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.